Hi, everybody. My name is Professor Brianna Bashaw Wood, and I'm so excited to be here. I'm a lecturer in the Child and Family Development Department, and I'm also the advisor for our EC Team program and our LPCC program in CFD. I really love to support students in our local San Diego elementary schools. I offer parent trainings, and I also specialize in mental health for young children. The really awesome part is that I was also a student parent when I was in my master's program. So I was really honored to be asked to come talk to you guys, and that just felt really special to me. So I hope you guys find the information helpful and all that good stuff. So today what we're going to be talking about is healthy relationships. How do we help our kids have healthy relationships? If I was to ask you, what's one of the most important things you want for your child? A lot of us would have different ideas, but I'm sure some of us would say to be in happy and healthy relationships, right? We want our children to have families when they're older. We want our children to have friends. So, how do we help them create these relationships that are healthy and happy and fulfilling and loving and all of those things that we want for our children? So typically when we talk about things like this, we talk about infancy all the way to adulthood, right? That's kind of the developmental trajectory. Well, today I'm going to change things up and we are going to talk about adults and go back down because I want to show you guys how all of these skills kind of build on top of each other. So it's kind of cool. So one thing that I want to share is that intimate partner violence is a huge problem in the United States. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of physical abuse by an intimate partner. That is a huge number, right? We do not want our children to be part of that epidemic. Like, that's crazy. So, what do we have to do? We really have to have open communication with our children that's developmentally appropriate, right? So, at each developmental stage, we need to have that open communication with our children about friendships, about romantic relationships, about boundaries, how to keep not only their physical bodies safe, but also their mental health, right? Because having those boundaries is really important. So first off, we're going to start talking about adult children. So what kind of falls in this category? So these would be those students or children who have moved out of their parents' home or are starting to work and have more of that independence, right? Parents aren't there enforcing rules in the same way they were when they were in high school or younger. So there really has to be a lot of trust established between a parent and a child when they're in this stage of life, right? And so conversations have to be from the basis of trust. Wow, I wonder how you're feeling about this relationship you're in. Wow, you look really happy. Those kind of things, with the idea that you are trusting an adult child to make those choices because you've had these conversations throughout their whole life till you got to this point where you can trust them and trust that the conversations you've had as they grew up has allowed them to make good choices. Are they going to make good choices all the time? No. Are any of us, right? So there are going to be times when a romantic relationship doesn't go well, right? And as parents, it's our job to support our children through that, right? To be empathetic and understanding. So share in our children's joy and support our children in their sadness as well. And when it comes to supporting that joy, I think that's really relevant when our children start dating and bringing their significant others over for holidays or to meet the parents and things like that. I don't know if you've had this experience, but going to your in-laws' home for the first time is can be really stressful. And as parents, we need to be thoughtful about that, right? That we may not be sure if this person's going to be staying around, but we need to treat them as if they are going to be staying around, because that's going to decrease the conflict with our children and also make sure that their mental health is good, right? Because what happens if that person does stick around and you've lost all of that time building that relationship with them that you could have been doing because you were afraid they weren't going to stay around? So that's just kind of my thoughts on adult children and how parents, we can help them in their romantic relationships. This is also really relevant about friendships, right? We have to trust that our children are going to find the people that are going to be good friends for them in adulthood, and that we have that trust in them to keep their boundaries, right? You can't always know that a friend is going to be a good friend until you create that friendship with them. But it really is about saying, hey, it was really uncool that you did XYZ. And, I think I'm going to pull back from our friendship. And that's okay, right? We want our children to be able to have that confidence and pull back on that. It's healthy to be able to have those boundaries. So let's talk a little bit about the teen years. So this is pretty much a pretty wide range. Kids are still living at home, so they do still have that parental control and parental rules. But parents are really starting to establish trust with their teens, right? They have to start trusting that their children are going to make good choices, because once they move into that adulthood stage, they're going to have to make those good choices. So there's still boundaries, but there's that trust and independence that allows a teen to really explore their world and explore the types of friendships that they want. So at this time in their lives, teens are really choosing their own identity. Before this point, a lot of that identity was chosen by others. But now, once the teen years hit, they get to kind of make that choice. They're looking outside of their commitment groups. They're looking outside their social groups. So their identity is really coming from who they want to be in the future and who they feel like they are now. So that's really going to change and affect those friendships that they have. And a lot of the times parents are just totally shocked and frustrated by the friends that their children pick, right? Especially in those teen years, because it's not something that they've seen from their child in the past, right? Because their child's exploring, they're checking things out, seeing who they really want to be. So once again, this is where that trust comes in. You have been talking with your child throughout their whole lives about what a healthy friendship and relationship really looks like, so that you can have that trust in them that they're going to make those good choices when it comes down to it. But at the same time, you still need to create those boundaries, which will help our children make good choices and use us as a crutch for making those good choices, right? Oh man, sorry, dude, like, I can't drink, or I can't go out with you right now because my mom will get on my back, So we're using us as an excuse to keep them to make those good choices. And that's okay, right? Who cares why the reason is, right? As long as we've kind of established that and had that open communication. And this really is the time where there's a lot of conflict for teens, right? They're going through new romantic relationships. They're trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And also in friendships. How do you have romantic relationships, but also keep your friendships going as well? So many teens are really challenged with those kind of things, and having those open communications and being empathetic to your child is the best way to really do that. Like, oh, did that feel great the way that person responded? No? I wonder how you can communicate with them about that. Really having that open communication. And at the same time, there's going to be a lot of times that the teen doesn't come to their parent at all, right? So really helping and being aware of kind of where your teen is at and the people that are around them, to make sure that they are surrounded by things that are positive, right? So not telling a teen they can't be friends with that person, but supporting maybe the friendships that are a little more positive and things like that. And keeping those boundaries, keeping those, you had to be home by this time. You can't drink and drive. You can't drink at all, or you can't do drugs. Whatever that is for your family and your family's makeup is really what's going to be important. So now we're going to go back a little bit more, right, into those tween years. That oh Lordy, the tween years. It's a whole different ball game, right? They really are trying to explore and push boundaries, but they have no developmental skills to be able to do that, right? And a lot of that comes from their group identities, right? So I play baseball, so I'm someone who plays baseball. And my baseball team, that's going to be my identity. Or the church group, right? I'm an honor student, or I'm in theater. These are the things that really help a tween, know where they kind of fit in the world. And most of the times in the tween years, these are things that have been set up by parents already, right? Oh, I enrolled you in Girl Scouts. I enrolled you in this church group. These are things that their parents have kind of helped support their child throughout their life, and that's part of their child's identity. They might start pushing back during these tween years about, no, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do something else, because their identities are really wrapped up in that group identity. So that's kind of really important. So once again, having that trust and that flexibility, but still having those boundaries, because tweens' brains up here, this frontal lobe is nowhere near developed enough for them to be able to make good choices. So as parents, it's still our job to have those boundaries and allow them to explore and discover themselves, but in a safe and understanding way. So what kind of conversations would we have with our tweens, right? These are going to be more of those in-depth conversations, because you're probably going to get your tween for a little bit longer than you would in the teen years. So instead of just how was school, it's more guided conversations. Hey, I knew you were really worried about that group project with so-and-so. How did that work out? Oh, wow, you guys were able to work it and you were so worried about it. Really having those conversations of picking apart those social interactions. What do they really look like? Also in the tween years, they're going to start those romantic relationships and conflicts, right? There's not going to, for some students, romantic relationships are going to be a big thing. And for other tweens, they're going to have no interest. So there's a lot of conflict within this developmental stage because of that. So they're going to need a lot of guidance in how to deal with conflict in both romantic relationships and in friendships. And they're probably going to start losing a lot of those same-sex friendships that they had before in their younger years, right? Those person that they went to elementary school with for the last 10 plus years, they're not friends with them anymore. They want to be involved in something else. So that's going to happen during those tween years for sure. So now our school-aged kiddos. So this is the time when our kiddos really have those same gendered friendships. There really is that huge separation between boys and girls, right? They're in these organizations and committed to these activities that are really a lot of times gender specific or broken up into groups, right? So there's Girl Scouts, there's church groups, there's sports that are more gender separated. So they're going to be involved in all of these things and really working on their same gendered friendships. And this is where we're going to help our kids learn those boundaries that they're going to later learn and use in their romantic and their friendships, right? Where you're really helping them, like, no, it's not okay for your friend to hit you. How do you communicate with your friend that it's not okay for them to hit you? Oh, wow, you really didn't like it when that friend made fun of you. Did you let them know? Did you have that conversation? How to really communicate about those things. I'm actually working at a local elementary school right now. And today I had to go and support two boys that were calling each other names, and led to a fist fight. So we really had to sit down and break down each of these pieces, right? You know, and they were doing the whole he started it. And I was like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter who started it or where it came from, right? That it's each of our jobs to decrease the conflict and communicate about our feelings. And that's where those I statements come in, right? I'm mad because you called me ugly. Really breaking it down in that way, taking responsibility for your own feelings and explaining to how that person's reactions really affected you. So that's how we're going to really create those boundaries. This is also where we're going to create that confidence, right? What behaviors are children going to be okay with? I'm okay with, you know, my friend joking around with me, but I'm not okay with them calling me names. And so having that confidence to express that to their friends. Also, values. Where are our children's values? Oh, yeah, I love pizza, when your child may not actually like pizza. So having that confidence in being able to share their dislikes and likes and those values that kind of go along with it. So the school age time is a really important time to kind of build all that stuff that's going to be the foundation of our tweens relationships, our teens relationships, our adults relationships. So it's a really great time to have those conversations. And then we're going to go even lower, right? We're going to go to those preschool years where things are just chaos for some of our kiddos, right? Internally, socially, relationshiply, they don't have control over their bodies. And there is hitting and biting and all of these things that they're still working through. And I think it's really important to kind of highlight that this is where our children are going to be getting their perceptions of dealing with conflict that they're going to use throughout their whole life, right? That they're going to use in school age, when tween years, those teen years, and those adult years. So a good example of this is that my daughter, she's in preschool, and she's struggling right now with communicating with a friend of hers who is really having a hard time regulating his body. And so there are some parents who said, don't talk to that kid. Don't be friends with him, go play with someone else. But in our home, we kind of did the opposite. We kind of said, how can you support your friend? How you have days where you're not making good choices either. So I wonder how you can support your friend. I wonder how you can be kind to them. I wonder how you can help him when he's having a hard day. And so we really gave my child the power and the responsibility of being able to help and make something positive of this relationship, right? And we still say, no, it's not okay for a friend to hit you, or no, it's not okay for a friend to make fun of you. But you have to be able to have the confidence to not only tell them that, but help them when they're having a hard time too. Because none of us are perfect, and let's be real, none of our preschoolers are perfect. So they're all kind of struggling with that same kind of stuff. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope that it really got your brains thinking and wondering. I do want to share a little bit about the Healthy Early Years Clinic, which is the organization that I am the coordinator of. So the Healthy Early Years Clinic is a training facility that is connected to our Child and Family Development Department. So that's where all of our LPCC master students do their hours towards graduation. So everyone is supervised by a licensed psychologist. So no treatment planning is done by the students by themselves. It really is a collaborative process. And we focus on prenatal to age 8. We can see full lifespan. We see tons of those adolescents and those tweens. But that's just our specialization and kind of the lens in which we look through when we are doing our treatment plans and creating our interventions and things like that. So that's where I do my parent trainings through. So if you are ever interested, going to hey.sdsu.edu. And you can see the list of our resources. You can see our groups. We're having some wonderful social skills groups coming up for our kiddos. So check us out. We do not take insurance, but we do have a very generous sliding scale. So if financial considerations are a concern, definitely come to us. That's what we're here for. We're here to kind of meet that need in the community. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, or if you want to just have more of this conversation, really want to talk about what it's like to communicate with your kiddo about relationships and keeping those boundaries and keeping safe. I do want to end with a little bit of a trigger warning. I'm going to talk about how to keep our bodies safe. And so I just kind of wanted to give you guys that heads up. So when we are talking with our kiddos about their bodies and consent, that really starts early, right? And I think one of the hardest things is that we shouldn't force our children to give kisses or give hugs when they don't want to. We need to really help them realize what is, how to communicate about their own bodies. The question that I always get from parents is, well, what about things like doctor visits or shots or the dentist? And yeah, that's a fantastic question. You can say things like, I understand you don't want to get a shot right now. It's really challenging, but just know that the doctor's here to keep you safe. And unfortunately, this is not negotiable. How would you like your shot? Or would you like me to hold your hand while we're getting your shot? Or, you give them choices in other ways, because things like that are not negotiable. Health and safety are not negotiable. Same thing with brushing teeth. Brushing teeth is not negotiable. You had to brush your teeth twice a day to keep yourself healthy. You can decide how you want to brush your teeth, right? You can stand on this stool, or you can just stand on this stool. You can decide what toothbrush you have or what toothpaste. That's where they can really have that autonomy and work on that consent. And other ways, helping our children have appropriate independence in the bathroom, and just having those conversations. It's not appropriate for anyone else to touch you in your underwear other than mommy, daddy, XYZ caregiver, or the doctor. And if you ever feel uncomfortable, you need to come and tell someone. So really having those conversations and being honest about it, right? You don't want your kid to be unsure, unaware of this information. So you really want to support them through that. So I hope that was helpful. Like I said, reach out if you have any questions. And thank you so much for watching, and good luck with the semester. Bye.